agenda as presented.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, so we have an approved agenda. One item, mandatory watering schedule and water shortage response plan. Charlene McKendry. The floor is yours.
I'm Charlene McKendry, Water Resource Specialist here at the city. I've got a few presentations here. We're here to talk about the water shortage response plan. So I've got,
You need to share your screen.
oh, share screen.
So you have a
Share screen right here. Okay.
slideshow. Screen down the lower right.
Right.
On the toolbar.
Just right here. Right there.
Right there.
The left, right there.
Okay. Are we good?
Click on
it.
Thank you.
You can.
So we're here to talk about the 2023 water shortage response plan. The purpose of the water shortage response plan is a tool and guide for the city of Lacey in the event of a weather-related water shortage, natural or human-caused disaster or other water system operating emergency. The water shortage response plans establishes procedures intended for use during unexpected periods of water shortage. The goals of the plan are to maintain essential public health and safety services, minimize negative effects on public safety, minimize adverse impacts on local economy and the environment and the lifestyles of the Lacey water customers in times of emergency water shortage. The overview is because of all of our water is supplied from groundwater sources, we are not highly vulnerable to short-term drought conditions. However, we could be vulnerable to drought conditions followed by a low fall or winter precipitation, 6 months or longer of little or no rain. Unusually dry and warm weather sustained over the summer months. Unexpected failure of our water system components, like if a well went down, pump stopped working for some reason, natural or human-caused disasters, fire or earthquake, contamination of some portion of the water supply. There was a spill that contaminated a well. The present possible production or P3 numbers, it means the P3 number is the sum of all wells online and in production pumping for 21 hours of the day. The P3 value is represented by million gallons per day. The current demand, CD, is the amount of daily water produced from wells and from storage from the previous day. So some of the updates, this is a dynamic document. It gets updated every year. There are frequent changes every summer too, to reflect our operating system, depending on what daily demand are. Some of the changes are a little bit of reorganization of the format of the plan. There wasn't a lot of rearranging of the stages of steps from 2022, but it's like I said, it's a dynamic document. There can be changes made as needed. Added updates to reflect the city's current organizational structure, added language to help direct our communications in emergency situations. Here are the water shortage response plan trigger numbers. The P3 for this year that we're starting out with is 18.47 million gallons per day. The first stage trigger of the plan is an advisory stage. So every summer, the mandatory watering schedule is implemented, which we're all familiar with that, I think, the odd even watering schedule. That is everybody complies with it, residential and commercial, to help curb the peak demand. And then we also have giveaways of water saving items and stuff to help people lower their usage at their residential homes. And then the stage 2 is an internal action, 14.78 million gallons per day, which is 80% of the P3 number for 3 consecutive days. Stage 3 is mandatory, 16.62 million gallons per day, which is 90% of the P3 number for 3 days, or 17.55 million gallons per day, 95% of the P3 number for 1 day. Then stage 4 is an emergency, 17.55 million gallons per day, 95% of the P3 number for 3 consecutive days, or 18.47, which is our total P3 number, million gallons per day, 100% of the P3 for 1 day. And this is basically what the different stages entail. Like I said, the first stage is advisory. Everybody does the mandatory watering schedule. And then stage 2, internal action. The city of Lacey curtails some of the irrigation that happens on city property to reduce the level so that there's not as much of an effect for the utility customers. That's one of the things, so that helps with that. And then stage 3, it's getting a little more strict. People are reduced to watering possibly only 2 days a week instead of the 3 days. It affects all water customers, commercial and residential. The water shortage response plan team meets and tweaks the response as needed. City operations, city landscapes, the irrigation is reduced by 25%. And it reduces things like the city doesn't wash their vehicles and that kind of thing unless they go to a car wash where water is recycled, stuff like that. And then stage 4 is pretty serious, so it reduces outdoor watering even more. Possibly people are reduced to just 1 day of irrigating their landscape. No filling of pools, no washing of vehicles, no using your hose to spray off your driveway and things like that, because we want to preserve the water produced for residential drinking water needs. That's the most important thing, and for firefighting. And then internal operations, the city then reduces irrigation by 50%. So, and there's more details in there too.
So the 18 million, what was it, 18.47 million gallons? That's assuming, is that with all our reservoirs in, high, full and everything online, or, I mean?
The number is developed from the sources.
Do you want to go to the
that
next?
access to? So you take all the different wells that are
Stop.
functional
No, the next slide.
and you aggregate them all together, run them
The
for
graph.
21 hours. If a question,
Yes.
explain that, and you come up with that number.
Okay.
So if a well broke, the number gets smaller.
Drops, yeah, okay. Yeah. I know we built the second reservoir in Hawks Prairie so we could do the earthquake maintenance and repair and all the stuff for the the regular reservoir out there, is that completed yet?
Mhm.
Okay, cool, so,
The reservoirs do equalization storage. So it doesn't put any more water into the system. It just means if everybody as an instantaneous thing wanted more than 18.5 million gallons, we could do it by pulling it out of storage. We couldn't do it for the whole day.
but that storage also helps with pressure, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, we use half of it, you probably have half the effect of the gravity or of the weight of the.
So what is this graph we're looking at now?
So what this shows is daily water production. So the fine lines that you can barely see is kind of the low flow or the low production, the high production for each day. It's the range of production for each day historically.
And I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. The scale here, is this a year-long scale?
No, it's not exactly.
It's June 1st through September 28th.
So the peak times that we're watering our grass and our usage is pent up. Is this an estimate of what to expect since we're not in September yet?
No,
This
that's
last year's data.
Last year's data.
so that the fine lines, which you can barely see,
Mhm.
is historical highs and lows. It's the
Okay.
range for each day.
Okay,
The raggedy, kind of brownish.
kind of the
dark reddish
median is what,
median.
yeah, okay.
So what you're looking for really is what's probably most interest to you is the very peak, the highest historical peaks, and where do they cross those different thresholds?
Okay,
And you can see that, that it is kind of crossing our,
First threshold.
80% numbers there, the
okay.
lowest fine green line.
Mhm.
And we are developing a kind of an agreement with Olympia to be able to get 1 million gallons a day from them.
Mhm.
When that agreement is in place, we have the ability to draw that, then those more solid, heavier green, blue, red lines reflect what those P3 numbers will be, 80, 90, once we get that agreement in place. So that, if you look at the kind of the green and the blue lines versus the historical numbers, it shows you can get a feel for the likelihood that we might have to implement any action here this year. So that's the value of that graph.
So we're pretty close to moderate concern every year, is what it looks like to me. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
And that's why we're trying to create an agreement with the city of Olympia, try to expand our capacity to meet with the increasing demand. What if that doesn't happen?
Well, so that's for this year. I mean, this year we have, as Pete noted, we have 20 wells. And this number is based on the number of wells in operation. So this summer we have 2 wells that are completely offline up in Beechcrest, which is part of a large project.
Mhm.
But every year we are rehabilitating projects. I think there's no doubt that we'll be able to reach an agreement with the city of Olympia on that. It's just everybody's busy right now. And we've had a similar agreement with them in the past. So this isn't anything new.
Now, there was talk about, I think we wanted to put a wellhead in southeast Lacey near Brentwood. Did we talk about
It's a replacement site.
replacement site?
Yeah.
The water right that we have that we cannot fully use with the current well.
Okay,
So we're looking to this other location to put another well. It's within the area that ecology says we can extract water under that water right.
okay. We haven't been able to, we're still working on it, or?
Right.
Okay,
Right. So we have a number of additional well sites with additional water rights that are not yet developed.
Oh.
Like up at 41st and Marvin, where we have our big water treatment facility, and there's 2 wells there. There's an undeveloped well, just kitty corner across the roundabout from there that's in our plan to develop.
okay.
So over the next number of years, we'll continue to bring those sources online for which we have a water right entitlement. There's another site up in the park that's off of Campus Glen in Willamette. So, and then there are current wells, like you just explained before, that we can't fully utilize those water right we currently have. So we're looking at ways at being able to fully utilize those rights. So there's a number of things we're going to do to increase our production over the next decade.
From my perspective, it seems like we have a handle on things, more or less. I mean, we're not in any critical danger for water shortage in Lacey.
Right, if things go well, I mean, if there was an earthquake and several sources were damaged,
Okay, then
you
that
know,
would,
the colored lines drop down,
right,
and then we are in a problem, then we could be in an emergency.
okay.
So the important thing to keep in mind is during the winter, when there's no irrigation going on, it's just people are using water for drinking, for cooking, for washing dishes and clothes and showering and all that.
Mhm.
You know, it's probably 5 to 6 million gallons a day, say 6. But here, you know, we're looking at 14 million gallons a day.
It's
And that's
quite a
just
jump.
all irrigation. So
Mhm.
we have plenty of water
Yeah,
for essential use.
sure.
But, you know, we may have to kind of go through more conservation efforts. And, you know, maybe people's lawns might not be as green in the future, but yeah, we have plenty of water for essential use.
Part of our outreach information is this particular graph here, or illustration here, goes in the consumer confidence report that just went out. It goes in Lacey Live. It's been on Instagram and Facebook and other media that's been shared. And then I want to share with you some other things that we have developed for public outreach and education. Let's see here. This video, where's that here? This one was developed last fall, and it is posted on the trending topics section of the Lacey homepage. So when people want to know more about the odd even schedule, this 44-second video plays for them, and it's a nice little
Yeah.
Okay. Is this working?
The play button there.
The City of Lacey has a mandatory watering schedule, June 1st through September 30th. If your home address ends with an odd number, you are allowed to water Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. If your home address ends with an even number, you are allowed to water Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. No watering is allowed on Friday. The city does not limit the amount of water you use, but when we all water at the same time, we create periods of high demand that strain our water system. By taking turns, we reduce high demand and prevent the need to add costly infrastructure. Save water, save time, and save money by being water wise this summer and all year long.
So this has also been on Facebook and as well as being on our homepage. You can access that. And then some other things that we've developed. This infographic here, it's a nice poster size graphic that basically, like what Scott was saying, we start out, 6 million gallons per day in the off season, and then when during the summer season, 13 million gallons per day is just basic, at least 13 million gallons per day being used.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water.
So we've got this real nice, simple little poster thing that can go out to HOAs and at tabling events. Illustrates how if we don't take turns and conserve and reduce peak demand, we might have to build more water towers. So, we're saving money by reducing peak demand. And then this has the mandatory watering schedule on here. It's got people's days that they water. If you're address ends in a even number, it's Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. If it's an odd address, it's Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. And then some quick little tips at the bottom here. I like this one, let your grass turn golden, because it's not dead, it's dormant. My grass turns golden every year and it always turns green again, so. But you know, a lot of people don't.
Just don't go gold, green, because then.
Yeah. And then a lot of HOAs require that people keep their lawns green too, so. I've been really emphasizing at meetings and events to, for people to replace some of their plantings with more drought tolerant things, local, or native plants like Oregon grape and rhododendrons and that kind of thing that take less water than, and are drought tolerant rather than some of the ornamentals that we see. And then smart controllers is a really great thing to do, so. So that is the other thing. It just got shared with all the HOAs. Jenny Bowersfield distributed it. Their email contact information, plus it was presented. I presented it at the quarterly HOA meeting that we had just a couple weeks ago, and then at the Lacey Fun Fair at the tabling event. I gave out some of those then too. And then, of course, we have our refrigerator magnet handy reminder thing for people. And that is available at the shop. It's all over the office here. I've got it at utility billing as well as the posters. I gave that to utility billing too, so, and the shop. So we're getting the word out there as much as we can.
The only question I have is those two wells that, I mean, I know every year we do work on wells, at least one or two, I'm sure, so. When do they come back online?
What is it, next spring?
Yeah. Okay. So the two wells up in Beechcrest, they're down because we're doing, like Scott said, a large project. It's part of the pH adjustment to reduce corrosion. Those are two. So we didn't want to take too many off at one time. So we're like phasing which of the three well field areas have to get used or have to have the project done to them. So it's Beechcrest's turn, so they're offline.
Carolyn, you have any questions?
No, but I am remembering a familiar phrase when I used to work for the State Office of Drinking Water. They had a saying that, you know, in the groundwater, there is so much water. And you can put any number of straws in that water, straws being wells, and there's still only so much water. And it's hard for people to wrap their brains around it, but it's an important message for people to try to understand, is that, you know, we have to make what we have go around and last. So thank you for your work on this.
It's no other comments or questions. That was the only thing on our agenda. I'll go ahead and call this meeting adjourned. Thanks.
Thanks.